they're talking about you're still holding on to some belief systems of what you're supposed to do. And so like a serious, responsible adult parent aspect. And they're saying that it's really, why are you saying that? Okay, so so there's a piece of you resisting letting this part go. And then as I say that, I feel like fear in my thymus. And as you know, if you don't just let it go, they're saying it's going to drop the bomb on you because you're going to have to force yourself out of it. So what's it going to take for you? The guides are saying, it's very uncomfortable, and the brain can't comprehend it, right? But again, remember, this is not about brain comprehension.
No.
So what you can do, you do have the tools to know that when you go to reason and find logic and find a plan and measure and kind of scheduling and sorting how this is going to look, that is putting the weakest link first. Right? And at this point, you don't need to put the weakest link first because you're really clear that that link is solid. That link's not going to break. So at this point, it's more like tugboat. Allowing the mind to be tugged along, it's going to resist, it's going to call up the fear, it's going to call up all that stuff, though you're really being called to have more consciousness around. That's just what the mind's going to keep doing. Because this is all about that space of synthesizing.
Yeah.
And right now you're developing the space, the place, the experience where you're comfortable in synthesis. And that is a practice out of mental capacity. So you're building your vessel, and they give me an image of you in like inside of a boat or inside of a big bowl that is synthesis, and there's no gravity here, you're kind of like floating. And you look back and you see there's a tugboat of your mind. It's still there. It doesn't like being back there. It's upset, it's scared, but you know it's safe, right?
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't. And because you guys are going through a huge detox. Detoxes are very uncomfortable. You're detoxing chemical components of your brain and your substructure so that the matrix does not stick and give you false perspectives of reality any longer. And its signature frequency is complexity. So as things are very confusing for you and you don't know, you can be clear, you're looming in the fog of matrix complexity. Though when you resonate and align with, take a few moments, get present with your ability and the frequency of synthesizing, you can differentiate the difference between the looming fog of complexity and your resonance of synthesis. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I definitely feel the difference between the two. And that's why I feel like I'm vacillating between day to day.
Yes. And that is a good place to be right now. That's in alignment with the universal flux for the human consciousness on your planet Earth. So right now, you are all in a state of being thrust into some change. For you, because you're resonating in a fifth dimensional frequency, you're being catapulted into the space where you can find allowance of the frequency signature of simplicity. It's going to be very uncomfortable for your being in your mind. And it truly is about you all just doing what it is you want to do. And the reason that's so critical at this time is because that alignment completely releases the stronghold of the matrix onto the way you navigate your life. If the matrix has you looped in a way where things still need to be complex and you still need to find techniques and avenues and plans and blueprints to move forward for the outcome that you desire, as opposed to letting it be simple. It sounds good, you'd want to try it, and therefore that's the experience you're going to have. That big difference in those two ways of going about it.
Yeah.
If you're still looped into that complexity where your brain gets to activate and gets to create a whole new architecture, then the matrix will still have a stronghold over your created reality. And you of all people understand how powerful your thought forms are. So you're truly misaligning at this time with the frequency signature in your thought process, in your thought body, that invites the matrix into a dominating perspective.
So can I just write my book and then it'll just unfold? Like that, I just have to like trust in that? Like it's just going to go where it's supposed to go?
If it brings you joy to put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, then by all means, it's going to go exactly where you want it to go.
Okay.
Really aligning with joy in all now moments. And when you're not in joy and you're still doing what you know you need to do as your more mundane tasks, because those parts of you are still aligned with the matrix, you're conscious about it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very important at this time. As Chloe has learned, thoughts are a biomagnetic electric plasma that exist in an etheric space. They are attracted forward into you, absorbed and processed through your mental capacity, and then distributed out to your biological faculties, which then produce your perceived reality. Thoughts are a substance that already exists in your quantum space all around you. You are attracting which frequency of thoughts align with your vibration. So it's time for you all to start to understand that while you mold and shape and put your own personal energetic signature on thought forms, they are not of your initial creation within your head. They are a plasma that you attract into your field. They already exist, and then you mold them with your frequency signature. So understanding that your brain, your mind, does not have a grasp on that knowing, that concept. It still perceives itself as the creator of those thoughts, as opposed to thought forms already being in existence, and you magnetize them towards you and mold them at will. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it does. I see it as you're talking about it.
Excellent. And this is very important because your consciousness can grasp this and get very particular about the frequency that they attract forward and mold through, though your mind does not want to accept that thoughts exist outside of its capacity, its space. So whenever you're feeling off or down or sad or confused or scared or anxious, again, just let it be your cue that you are aligning with your mind, you're aligning with your ego, and they will absolutely come with you through this journey, though they're not going to be the leader.
Yep.
We have to keep it simple. And you have absolutely created very clear physical mirrors in your life, aka your children, to show you constantly the simplicity of life, the simplicity of life.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult thread to dissolve and unwind. You all are literally allowing the threads of the fourth and third dimensionality to begin to dissipate in the ethers before you. It's uncomfortable and it's necessary. You're expanding your capacity for allowance. It's always about expanding your capacity for allowance and honoring and finding the space where you can truly adore the resistance. You humans need to find a place where you look at your resistance and your dense shadow emotional complexity process very lovingly. It's time for you to hold it the way you do your baby. Very, very important to embrace how critical and crucial your resistance and your shadow experiences have been for your growth process.
Yeah.
Because you humans are purging a mass level of your victim consciousness at this time. And as Chloe has also recently begun to listen to our explanations, the tables are turning now. Even though all of you have very thoroughly taken on the experience of victim, it's now time to focus on aggressor. And that's what's happening. You're finding the experiences where while you feel victimized, your mind, your ego, your fear is aggressing you continuously. And there is a love-hate relationship here, but it's time to begin to dissolve and unpack the aggressor standpoint from the victim dynamics. This is why there's going to be a huge shift in the divine masculine in the months to come.
So that's why anger's coming up so much for people, right?
Absolutely. It's a very tumultuous and delicate time because we have done so much focus for the victim standpoint. The humanity as a whole still has a very mutated, maladapted experience, an expansive perspective on the aggressive seat. And it's time to unpack this and understand how we all have manifested and created and hold this into place. It's time to take a level of responsibility that is extremely uncomfortable. The feminine dynamics is now ready to step up and take responsibility for the masculine dynamics. It's imperative to understand how the aggressor role has been manifest into that limelight. So the balance, aka, or quote unquote, excuse me, of aggressor energy is about to come into fruition. There's too much emphasis on the blame of the aggressor at this time.
Yep.
There's lots of pressure on the aggressor dynamic to take full responsibility, but in that pressure, there is an imbalance of the responsibility. So there needs to be a revealing and an understanding of why the aggressor role has manifest and how that is victim in essence, anyhow.
Yep.
And this is become a fight for the fittest. This is a very fear-inducing and concentrated energetic that's going to create an atom bomb-like wave across humanity when it comes to revealment and consciousness. It's imploding and then it will explode. You are all experiencing right now the implosion. The explosion is coming soon.
Is that going to be a war or is that like...
Will that will be a war within one's being, as you're
Okay.
feeling it already. For those that are not ready, it will absolutely be a tumultuous, cataclysmic experience for the psyche and the consciousness of the aggressor. Though it will not be a external war in your world as you're viewing it.
Okay.
Which is in fact the reason it will be happening, is to clear out the need for concentrated energy to create that type of external outcome again.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a headache. Is there something going on with my head? Like,
yes, it's too much work for your brain.
my brain's like, do not comprehend, do not compute.
Put your brain in the tugboat. Give it a life preserver, a drink with an umbrella in it, a big floppy sun hat, and call it a day.
Goodness. All
We
right.
commence a pressure extraction from your cerebral cortex to the cortices on her. Okay, let's do a cortices rebalancing. And now take one of your palms and cup the back top of your head, making sure that you're touching the right and left hemisphere of your head. So putting it in the middle. So palm goes onto one side and the fingers go onto the other.
Okay.
And then tap a few times at your thymus, and tap a few times at your third eye, or maybe at your hairline, and then tap a few times thymus, tap a few times at your hairline.
Where's my thymus?
Under your breastplate, just right there at your sternum. And then after you've done that a few times, both, move your hand up, one hand forward. So we're going to do kind of a hand's width. Do the same thing, tap a few times. We're going to rebalance right, left brain hemisphere. Tap a few times thymus, tap a few times hairline. Excellent. Then move your hand, one hand width up again, hairline. And once it gets to your hairline, you can just tap the head behind it, behind your hand on the top of your head. And then you're going to do both sides of your head. So where your palms would be on your temples, and your fingers would come around the top of your head touching.
Okay.
And since you don't have three hands, you're just going to do one hand at a time. So keeping one hand on one side and then tapping thymus, tapping hairline, and then switch hands. Wonderful. And this should assist greatly in stress reduction.
Okay.
This helps your brain to offload anything that it's overloaded from, where it's stopped doing its job to process other body functions.
Okay.
So you can trust in the shifting, follow your simplicity and your joy, and find a new level of love for your resistance process and understanding allowance. And the image they're giving me is as if let's say you and I took hands and we were spinning around and kind of running our feet fast in the same place, but like spinning around and around, and we're kind of leaning back and using our hands, right?
Yeah.
So see one of us as resistance and one of us as allowance.
Yeah.
And so they come hand in hand, they play together, they have fun. And it's imperative at this time that you come into a much more conscious process around resistance and allowance, because in fifth dimensionality, there is an ease in that expansion. There's more consciousness in the understanding of the cycle of resistance and allowance. There's way more appreciation for the growth that resistance offers one.
Okay.
And that's a pivotal point in the shift into this new energetics. And remember, as you're stepping up the ladder into new tiers or levels of your self-awareness, You are at the bottom rung and you're at the top rung. All tiers or levels are you. So your belief that there's something that you're supposed to do simply gives power to a perspective of you on a higher rung.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay if you do that, though that's what's happening. It's all you anyway. Which level are you going to align with?
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense.
Thank you. We've enjoyed
Thank
conversing with you, and we're always with you. We love you so much. You're doing a fabulous job at this game called life. We appreciate you inviting us in to chat.
Yeah, thank you.